Hello, Starshine. My name is Liz, and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe. And maybe check out my Facebook page, where this whole thing began, as well. All relevant links are in the description below, and of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of the characters featured in my stories, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Alrighty then. So, welcome. And what is up, Buttercup? Are you having a good day or a bad day? Whichever your answer, please allow me to distract you from your life and tell you a story, a Simsational story. Before I begin though, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done. But I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now we've gotten that over with, let's go. Today's story is from The Ascension of Anastasia, and we're at chapter 3. If you have not seen previous chapters and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though. So without further ado. Anastasia and Anton Lewis argued over the proposed adoption more than they'd ever argued over anything else before, including Anton's affair. Anna had been more than ready to forgive him then, as long as he agreed to her conditions. But Anton wasn't so quick to get over her transgression in turn. And didn't all hell break loose when she said that? In fact, Anton was suddenly so defensive about his past affair that Anastasia began to wonder if maybe he was hiding something again, because he'd never reacted like that before. He had always been so apologetic, but now he was yelling at her. He'd never yelled at her before, not ever. Anton was so ashamed of himself. He'd overreacted. He wasn't sure they should even be married anymore, let alone adopt a child. But he couldn't bring himself to break Anastasia's heart. He didn't want to be like this, and he did love Anna. But he loved Audrey too. He just didn't know what to do. In the end, Anton won the adoption argument though, and to Anastasia's complete and utter despair, he cancelled their online adoption application with as few simple clicks as she had done to apply in the first place. She couldn't understand it. Didn't he want a child with her? After the adoption argument, Anton and Anastasia's marriage hit yet another rough patch. Because of his work, Anton was rarely home when Anna was anyway, and when he was, they didn't talk much. Her acting career was finally starting to take off as well, and he could sense a change in her. Anton wasn't wrong about her changing. Anastasia Lewis was starting to make a name for herself finally. Only 1 star of fame so far, but 1 star was more than she used to have. She was going places. She'd done a couple of commercials now, and had recently changed agents from Everyday Extras Talent Agency to Well Suited Talent Agency, and they had a much better reputation. She was excited about her future. It amazed Anastasia how completely and utterly transformed she could become behind the scenes in the hair and makeup room. A little eyeliner here, contouring there, change the shade of lipstick she usually wore, throw on a wig, and she was almost unrecognisable. Acting professionally gave Anna a confidence she'd never really felt before. Getting dressed often made Anna feel rather self-conscious though. She'd never felt like she needed to slim down before. If anything, people told her the opposite. But in the dressing rooms of Del Sol Valley, Anastasia was considered a plus-size actress, and she felt the judgment keenly. But when all was said and done, Anastasia loved her job as an actress. She loved every second of it. From the sets, to the auditions, to the costumes, to that strange, otherworldly-ish thrill she got from immersing herself in a new character and new world every day. It was so exciting. And she was good at it too. Anna had never been turned away at an audition, never had a bad review, All her directors and co-stars loved her. She was a dedicated actress who always made sure that she was prepared for her role, yet she also strived to be flexible to sudden changes, and she was good at improvisation too. Anastasia Lewis was a natural success, just waiting to happen. Anna made sure to befriend all the backstage workers, other cast members and directors and producers everywhere she went to. You never knew when a good connection could come in handy, and it boosted her own reputation. Anna was no diva actress who kept herself apart from those she considered beneath her. She was one of them. It made a difference in the way Anna carried herself. She was confident in herself now, in a way she never had been before. She was good at something, really good at it. She'd always known in her heart that acting was what she wanted and that she could do it. And that was why she'd pursued her dreams in the first place. But finally actually beginning to succeed, it made her feel worthwhile in a way that Anton never had. And Anton was noticing the changes in his wife and his life rather quickly. He'd always secretly thought that Anastasia's acting career was a bit of a silly fantasy, and eventually, when he was ready, she'd quit it to take care of the children they'd eventually have. But instead of being home to make his dinner, she was out succeeding at auditions, and he was left to fend for himself in a way he definitely did not enjoy. Suddenly Anton was seeing his wife Anastasia in an all-new light. He had always kind of taken her for granted until now, but her newfound confidence kind of turned him on. Maybe it wasn't that he hadn't been in love with her. Maybe she'd just never loved herself before now enough for him to really see her clearly. Anastasia was glad they were finally finding their rhythm again. She felt like her relationship with Anton was maybe just like that, sometimes on, sometimes off, but the beauty of it was that they always came back together. She said as much to him when they went out for dinner one night, the first night in a long time, and she thanked him for having talked her out of the adoption. She wouldn't be where she was professionally right now if they'd had a child. Anton was glad that Anna had come around to his way of thinking at last. Adopting would have just been the wrong decision for them. To celebrate that they were finally on the same page, Anton got Anastasia a present. What they probably should have got all along, he joked before she opened the box. It was a puppy! A tiny little white baby puppy with bright blue eyes and the happiest nature in the whole world, that Anton told her was named Snow. He knew she'd wanted a baby, but wasn't this better in the end? She could get all the love she needed from a puppy, and her career wouldn't suffer. And Anastasia did love Snow. So much. The little puppy was a sweet-natured thing, and she was smart as a tack. She was a very playful puppy, but Anna didn't mind. She finally had something of her own to love that would love her back unconditionally. Anastasia became one of those people who insisted that her fur baby was her baby. And so the nursery was repurposed as a puppy room for Snow. She was definitely a little bit spoiled, but who cared? Anna wanted her little girl to be happy. She had never been so invested in anything other than her career before. And Anton let her go as mad as she wanted, never saying a word about the cost. She needed this, and he knew that. As that summer came, things between Anna and Anton were wonderful. Idyllic even. Anastasia had her puppy to keep her happy, as well as her burgeoning career, and Anton felt in control of the situation again. He hadn't liked her success when things were bad between them, but it was different now. He was glad she was becoming famous. But this whole time, Anton was still seeing their housemaid, Audrey Whitman, behind Anastasia's back. He just couldn't help himself. Audrey was a little younger than him, and although he could never have admitted it, a large part of her appeal for Anton was her naivety. It didn't hurt that she was also absolutely beautiful and had a fantastic body. The appeal for Audrey was mixed. Anton was sexy, of course, but that wasn't all there was to him. She was sure it wasn't. He was funny too, and he paid attention to her and cared about what she had to say. She wasn't used to boys noticing her moods or trying to cheer her up with silly little things. He'd invite her over whenever he was sure Anna would be gone for a few hours. Audrey knew Anton was married, of course. She was their maid, after all. And she didn't like sleeping with a married man or anything, but it was complicated. And Anna didn't understand or deserve Anton anyway. Look at that whole adoption mess. She hadn't even talked to him about it. She was an awful, selfish wife to him, and she only cared about herself. She didn't deserve Anton like Audrey did. Besides, Anton was going to leave Anastasia eventually anyway. Audrey was sure of it. He was just waiting for the right moment to break the news. It was Audrey he really wanted to be with. Audrey he talked to all day and told all his secrets to. Did Anna even know he'd been approached by the government to become a secret agent? No, of course not. But Audrey knew, because Audrey was his real partner. They would be together soon, and she knew it. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 3 of The Ascension of Anastasia. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. Or like I said, look us up on Facebook. Bye!